Hello, it's Uncle Fox Matone, and welcome to the Fight for Our Citizens podcast. In today's episode, it's not going to be an easy one. The Supreme Court has refused to hear the Apache Stronghold versus United States case, a decision that puts sacred land of Oak Flat in even greater danger. This ruling is more than just a legal procedure. It's another door slammed shut on the spiritual rights of indigenous people. But it's not the end of the road. We're going to break it down, what happened, why it matters, and where we go from here. On May 7th, the federal judge halted the Oak Flat land transfer, agreeing that the land exchange should not move forward. The judge said that the case raises serious constitutional questions about religious freedom, so serious, in fact, that it may ultimately need to be decided by the U.S. Supreme Court. This was a rare and important win, a moment where the legal system recognized what we have been saying all along. Oak Flat isn't just land, it's sacred. That decision put the brakes on Resolution Copper's takeover, but it wasn't permanent. That's why what happens next is so important. On May 27th, the U.S. Supreme Court announced it would not hear the case brought by Apache Stronghold. That means the lower court's decision, which allows a land swap between the U.S. government and Resolution Copper, will stand. In March 2023, the court said that the land transfer was not a substantial burden on religion as defined by RFRA, the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. The reasoning? The government was not directly coercing Apache Stronghold to violate their religious beliefs. Even though the land destruction would make ceremonies impossible, the court claimed the RFRA doesn't apply if the government is not directly punishing or regulating religious behavior. In the recent decision of the Supreme Court's refusal to hear the Apache Stronghold versus United States case regarding Oak Flat, only 2 justices publicly dissented, meaning they wanted the court to hear the case. Gorsuch and Thomas were the 2 Supreme Court justices who voted to hear Oak Flat case. The remaining 7 justices declined, allowing the lower court ruling to stand. Justice Gorsuch has shown understanding of indigenous sovereignty and religious rights in the past. His dissent in this case was direct. He wrote, "This case undeniably involves an important question, one that has divided the courts of appeals and eluded the court's review for years. Now is poised to do so again, and for no good reason." Gorsuch also goes on to say, "The government does not dispute this land is sacred, and yet it seeks to transfer it to a mining company knowing it will be destroyed." He also says, "Our Constitution promises free exercise of religion. If it means anything, it must protect the ability of all Americans, including Native Americans, to practice their faith." The dissenting judges in favor of Apache Stronghold, they strongly disagreed, saying that the ruling guts RFRA and fails to protect indigenous spiritual practices. One dissent wrote that this sets a dangerous precedent. In quotes, he says, "If the destruction of Oak Flat is not a substantial burden on religious exercise, it's hard to imagine what would be." The Ninth Circuit ruled that the U.S. can give Oak Flat to Resolution Copper, even though it will destroy a sacred Apache religious site. The court said that it doesn't count on violation of the religious freedom under RFRA. That decision was then appealed to the Supreme Court, which as of May 27, 2025, refused to hear the case, allowing the Ninth Circuit Court ruling to stand. The Apache Stronghold case was brought under the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, a law that should have protected Native spirituality. For generations, Oak Flat has been a place of ceremony, prayer, and connection. This is not just land, it's a living part of our spirituality. If Resolution Copper goes forward, the mine will create massive crater, swallowing our sacred place forever, and also taking all groundwater and polluting the environment. Imagine someone trying to dynamite the Vatican or bulldozing the Mecca. That's what this is. So people ask, what now? The legal path may be narrow, but our spiritual resistance is not going away. We're going to keep showing up, we're going to keep praying, and we're going to keep organizing. This moment is painful, but it's not the end. I want to share something personal. Something that reminds me of why we keep fighting for Oak Flat. In 2019, my daughter had a come-of-age ceremony at Oak Flat. I'll never forget those weeks leading up to it. 2 weeks before the ceremony, it snowed. I drove out to Oak Flat to check the land and saw snow covered in the entire dance area. Streams ran across the land, and the camping spaces were buried with snow also. Every other day before the ceremony, I would go back, watching the snow melt away little by little. But the streams, they stayed, and I start to worry. I remember talking to my uncle Winston Nosey about a backup location just in case. But I also remember praying and asking the Creator to prepare this land, to open up the way for my daughter to dance. And when that day finally came, Oak Flat was ready. The snow had melted, the streams had calmed, The ground was clear. My daughter danced that weekend on sacred, cleansed land. It felt like Oak Flat had prepared itself for her, like the land knew it was a blessing, and everyone there felt it. This is what Oak Flat means to me. And we lost so many loved ones in this fight. My father, Thomas Brown, my uncle, Paul Nosey, my aunt, Patty Sneezy Nosey, my relatives, Anthony Logan, my cousin, TJ and Doreen Nosey. This fight is for them. This fight is for our ancestors. It's for the generations to come. And it's for our ceremonies and for Mother Earth. The court may have turned their backs, but our people don't rely on court alone. We rely on prayer. We rely on ceremony. And we rely on each other. To Apache Stronghold, thank you. Thank you for standing in front of the fight with unwavering strength, deep prayer, and love for our people that cannot be shaken. Your continued resistance is a light for all of us. A reminder that Oak Flat is not just about saving land. It's about defending our way of life, our ancestors, our future. But the fight is not over. Even though the U.S. Supreme Court refused to hear the Oak Flat case brought by Apache Stronghold, 2 other lawsuits are moving forward. And this Friday, June 6th, they're going before the judge. At 10 a.m. inside the Sandra Day O'Connor U.S. Courthouse in Phoenix, the U.S. District Judge will hear arguments on whether or not to pause the land transfer of Oak Flat. One lawsuit comes from the St. Carlos Apache tribe, and another from the coalition groups, the Arizona Mine and Reform Coalition, Earthworks, Center for Biological Diversity, the Access Fund, the Sierra Club, and the Intertribal Association of Arizona. If the judge grants injunction, it could temporarily block the land exchange, giving us time to keep fighting before permanent damage is done. I hope people can show up in person or help spread the word, because this hearing matters. It could be the difference between saving a sacred site and losing it forever. And last, my niece Lozen has always dreamed of having her coming of age ceremony at Oak Flat, just like my daughter did. She's been carrying this vision since she was a little girl. That's been her prayer, her path, her dream to dance, to pray, to become a woman at Oak Flat. But now that dream is in jeopardy. Her ceremony is planned for October 2025. We may not be allowed on that land. Not for prayer, not for ceremony, not for anything. Once the transfer goes through, Oak Flat, our sacred ground, could be fenced off, mined, and destroyed. This is not just about copper. This is about faith. This is about fate. This is about our way of life. If Lozen is denied her ceremony, it's not just her loss. It's a loss for all of us, for our people, for our ancestors. So I ask you, what can we do to save Oak Flat for Lozen, for the next generation, for all who pray? We can speak. We can organize. We can show up. We can remind this country that religious freedom is not just for churches and cathedrals. It's for our mountains, our songs, and our sacred ground. Oak Flat is not gone, and neither are we. We fight for Lozen, we fight for our ceremony, and we fight for our existence. To end this episode, I'm going to play the Holy Ground song from Traditional and Spiritual Apache Songs album. It comes from the West Side Warrior Records, owned by my brother Pataka. And tonight I want to play this song for you and to listen and to remember to pray for Oak Flat, pray for Apache Stronghold, and pray for all the indigenous people, their faith, and their beliefs.
Thank you all for tuning in to the Fight for Existence podcast. If you guys want to keep up with the podcast in general, what you could do is follow the social media account. The Instagram account is going to be Fight for Our Existence. Again, that's Fight number 4 Our Existence. Go ahead and give that a follow. And if you guys have any questions for us, or you guys would like to be on the podcast, in the Instagram there's a link. Go ahead and click that. No matter what kind of platform you guys listen to this podcast on, there's always that plus or that follow button. So go ahead and click that so you guys can get notifications when we upload our next episode. And if you guys are listening on Spotify, what you can do is go ahead and rate the show. And if you guys are only listening on Apple Podcasts, what you can also do is write a review for the show. Thank you all for tuning in to the Fight for Existence podcast, and we will talk to you next time.